After uploading this video to my YouTube channel, Blake Flame TNT alerted me to the fact that I was using an older version of Wings 3D than is currently available. So I was on 1.4.1 and this is in 1.5.1, and there have been one or two minor changes to the interface that I've been able to detect. And one of them is where this ncube command's been hidden, so I'll show you where that is. If you right click, and normally the ncube was down there in 1.4.1, in 1.5.1 it's under cube under the options, so you can do the same things here as you could do with ncube. Number of cuts, we had 7 in the last video, so I'll do the same thing and I'll spherize it as well and go OK. At this point in the last video, what I did was I selected the faces and painted patterns on and extracted that and extruded that and to create the effect. Well, I'll do something a little bit different, but it'll sort of have more or less the same result, just a different way of creating a pattern, if you like. Select the entire object like so and switch first of all to the line mode, and what I'm going to do is use select and store selection. So I'm now saving all these lines when it's selected on line mode. Now I'll select all the corners and use the C command to connect the corners up. When you do this, you get interesting patterns because it doesn't connect up like it does when it's tessellating, so you get some interesting symmetries and asymmetries. So if you take an object and smooth it down, you can also do this same trick to create some interesting patterns. So what I want from this is all the diagonal lines. If I go to the lines again and go select and recall selection, that restores all the lines that I don't want. So I can go select and inverse, and that gives me all the lines I do want, and I go right click and I can just bevel these. So I'm going to bevel these so they occupy about the same surface area as the bits that are left behind. So roughly about there, I'd say. And then I'll left click to set that. At this point I'm going to use right click, extrude, normal, hold the shift key down and go at 0.1, and then I go select, inverse, so it's a very similar process to the last video. Use the minus key, right click, and then go shell extrude, normal, and hold the control key down and take it out to the same level. At this point, if you've got the geometry graph open, you'll see a lot of new objects have been created. You don't need to see that. If you want to see that, then you can go window and open that little window there. It's a useful thing, and the outliner as well, they're both under window. So what I want to do to simplify my object is just combine all those new bits into one new object. So right click and it'll be in here somewhere if I'm under the right mode. So that's the face mode. I need the solid mode, that's the entire object mode, and then I just find combine, there we go. So now I've got two objects to deal with. I'm going to apply materials to these objects, so then that can be separated out in Octane. Bryce doesn't need that, so to apply the materials I need to be in face mode as I was before. Right click and then right click on material, give it a name, OK. I'm going to assign it a colour just so I can see in there. Don't assign it red because the select colour's red and it gets a bit confusing. You don't know what you've got selected then. Then switch to the other object, right click on material, a new name, and assign a colour for that. OK, and press space so you can see now where we're heading with this. Select both of the objects, right click, and I'll use do Sabian subdivision. With it being a little bit more complex than the last object, it might take a little bit longer. After I've done that once, for speed I'll use smooth, so I'll press smooth, and that is usually faster than do Sabian. So you now got an idea what this shape's going to look like. If I want to use it with picture materials in Octane, I'll need to provide a UV map, which I can do with UV Mapper Classic, and there's another video that shows you how to do that if you want to. For Bryce it's not such a problem because it's got some clever mapping modes that allows it to put image textures straight onto objects that don't even have a UV map, but it can do it in various world or object mapping modes, so that's a nice feature in Bryce that Octane doesn't have. So there you go, another of these ball shaped objects that you can apply materials to and put in your renders should you so desire. So I hope you found that interesting and useful, and that you'll have a go at creating this kind of thing in Wings 3D.